Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar for organisers of ag shows and events, including those who organise these events, including sheepdog trials, sheep shows and much more. My name's Jodie Rosé O'Brien and I'm one of the EID implementation team at Primary Industries and Regions. In our webinar today, we're going to cover what is the NLIS, what is EID, why is traceability so important for shows and sporting events, what are the key dates for implementation of EID in South Australia, the reporting and recording obligations for you as ag shows and event organisers, how to record a sighted livestock, how to get any assistance that you might need, and then we'll finish off with the rebate for ag shows and events and a Q&A. And I want to thank everyone for sending through their questions in advance, which we'll cover in tonight's webinar. But if you've got one, as I said, pop it in the chat or in the Q&A and I'll post those to the presenters. Our first speaker today is Tara Vanderloer. Tara is going to present on EID and your responsibilities as an organiser of ag shows and events. Tara works as an NLIS officer for animal biosecurity and has worked for Primary Industries and Regions South Australia since 2006, where she specialises in livestock traceability and has focused much of her time on the implementation of sheep and goat electronic identification over the past few years. Tara is a farmer and lives on her property near Tintinara with her husband and 3 sons. At this time, I'll hand over to Tara. Thanks, Tara.
Excellent. Thanks, Jodie. So, look, today's session is a bit of a refresher for those who joined our webinar last year, but we also understand that there may have been some turnover in show membership or committees or in conveners since last year. So this will allow any new people to get up to speed with the changes brought in with mandatory sheep and goat EID and your legal obligations as a show or event organiser. So the National Livestock Identification System, or the NLIS, is a system in Australia that identifies and tracks livestock for diseases and food safety purposes. It's used to record the movements of cattle, sheep, pigs, goats, bison, and even buffalo through the livestock supply chain. The NLS combines 3 elements that enable the lifetime traceability of these animals. Number 1 is that all livestock are identified with a permanent identification device or a tag. 2, that all physical locations are identified by the means of a property identification code or PIC. And 3, that all livestock location data and movements are recorded on a central database. So the 3 elements being tags and PICs and a central database are all working together. So the transition to sheep and goat EID is not changing how the NLS works. These 3 elements remain the fundamentals of the system. However, it is changing the type of traceability information that we use to track our sheep and goats through the system. So we're moving from the visual, paper-based, mob-based information to individual EID information. The NLS is underpinned by state and territory laws. Event organisers have always had NLS obligations under the livestock regulations, and this has included recording the movements of cattle, sheep, goats and pigs on the NLS database. However, in January of last year, amendments to the Livestock Regulations 2013, which underpin the Livestock Act 1997, came into effect in South Australia. The amended regs support changes to sheep and goat tagging and scanning and reporting obligations throughout the sheep and goat supply chain, including for special event organisers such as yourselves, ag shows and sporting events. You might be asking yourself why shows even need to worry about traceability. So although shows and events are not really part of the commercial livestock industry, you are still part of the supply chain and part of the industry more broadly. Shows and events actually pose quite a significant biosecurity risk, and there are a range of factors that influence this. And these include the fact that there are often multiple species congregating at one location. We have multiple sources or source properties supplying livestock that are then congregating. We've got livestock with different health statuses. Many livestock producers attending shows are then going home to their own properties, and then animals are interacting with their livestock back at home. We've got close interaction with the public, with unknown travel histories, and livestock then return to their source property, taking back any potential diseases back with them. So it makes accurate traceability really, really important through the shows and events. So what is an actual EID device? Well, it's an electronic identification device is a tag that identifies animals using a microchip. The microchip contains a unique serial number that we call the RFID number, and that can be read using a handheld scanner. The internal RFID number is linked to the visual code called the NLIS ID that's printed on the outside of the tag. And both the RFID number and the NLIS number are linked and both recorded on the National Livestock Identification System, and that's what we use to track animals from property to property. Mandatory sheep and goat EID is being implemented nationally across all states and territories. In South Australia, we've had a staggered introduction to this, including both the commencement of mandatory EID tagging and the commencement of mandatory EID scanning and recording on the NLS database. So running through the timeline, from January 1 of last year, all sheep and farm goats born on or after this date must be EID tagged before leaving the property of birth. Processors began EID scanning and recording. Property movements also began EID scanning and recording, and show and event organisers began EID scanning and recording for animals that are presented with EID tags. From 1 July of last year, sale yards came online and they began scanning and recording animals with EID devices. And from 1 Jan 2027, all sheep and farm goats will have to be EID tagged before leaving any property, moving anywhere. So this timeline means that till the end of this year, we'll be operating in a hybrid traceability system in South Australia, whereby the mob-based system and the EID system will be in place at the same time. Up till 1 Jan 2027, you may see sheep and goats attending your events with either visual tags or EID tags, often depending on the age of the animal. These will need to be recorded differently on the NLS database, and we're going to go through that a little bit later. From 1 January of next year, however, sheep and goat EID will be fully implemented in and operational in South Australia, and that means that all sheep and farm goats that are moving anywhere, including to your show or event, will have an EID tag, and all movements will need to be recorded on the NLS database. But what does that actually mean for you, you guys as show or event organisers? Well, from 1 January 2025, last year, you may have already begun to see sheep and goats with EID tags at your events. All EID tagged sheep and farm goats will need to have their EID tags scanned and recorded on the database as a sighted livestock movement within 2 days of arrival. This is the same as what has been required for any cattle attending your events for over 10 years. Visually tagged sheep and farm goats must continue to be recorded as a mob-based movement on the NLS database by the event organiser. To be clear, when we speak about the legislative responsibilities of event organisers, we're referring to the overall organisers of the show or event. So meaning the Ag Show Committee or the Camp Draft Committee or the Field Day Committee, for examples. We're not talking about the organisers of those individual events or classes that may occur within the show or event. So what do you need to satisfy your responsibilities as a show or event organiser? Well, you need a showground property identification code, which most of you already have. Similarly, you need an NLIS database account, which is a sporting event account type, and you need to know how to log in to that account. You need to understand which animals at your event have visual tags and which have EID tags, and then you need to scan EID tagged animals, sheep, goats and cattle, and record those movements as a sighted livestock movement within the 2 days. You need to record visually tagged animals as a mob-based movement, and you need to collect movement documents such as NVDs and National Health Declarations from all sheep and goat producers. Copies must be kept within for 2 years, but they can be stored as electronic copies. So some shows might choose to engage a third party, such as a local stock agent or another local producer, to carry out the EID scanning of the sheep, goats or cattle that are EID tagged on your behalf, and this is perfectly fine. However, you do need to be aware that the legal responsibility still rests with the show or event organiser. So if you've got someone else doing this on your behalf, you must then follow up and ensure that's actually done. So we advise you to follow up and check. We're reminded that sheep and goats may be attending your event for a range of activities. So these might include for exhibition, display, field days, such as stud sheep field days, and stud sheep are often commonly EID tagged. They may be attending for judging competitions, for a shearing competition, a yard dog competition, or even a farmyard nursery. So no matter why the animals are attending the show or event or in what capacity, it's the overall event organiser's responsibility to ensure that all the necessary information is then collected and recorded on the database. How the event or you guys choose to actually do this is up to you. For example, you might delegate the information of scanning and information collecting to your event conveners, but again, the ultimate responsibility still rests back with the overall event organisers to ensure that information is collected and uploaded to the database. So before we jump into showing you how to actually record a sighted movement on the database, we're going to just quickly touch on how to recover your database login details. So these details might have got lost in paperwork or in the show office, or they may not have been provided in the handover to new committee members. So we're just going to quickly touch on this so that you know how to retrieve your login details. So obviously you go to the NLS website, and then on the login page there's 2 hyperlinks. Depending on what information you need. So you can, if you've forgotten your NLS ID, you click on that. Otherwise, you've forgotten your password. And these details will be emailed back to the email address registered to that database account. So once you've got those and you're logged in, the next thing we encourage you to look at are the contact details that are registered to your database account and updating these if necessary. In particular, it's important that the email address registered to your database account is correct. So once you've you've logged in, you've got onto the home screen, you click on what do you want to do today, and then there's view, edit my account details. So you give that a click, and then it brings up your registered details for your show or event. And down the bottom there where I've got the little arrow is the email. So if that needs to be changed, you can just delete that and pop in the new one, the current one, and then press continue, and that will update that email for your account. It's really important to have the correct email address because the system will send you various notifications such as warnings or errors that you do need to take notice of if you do get them. Other contact details that might need updating, such as name and address, phone number, etc., can't actually be updated by yourself through this screen. You do need to contact the NLS help desk to do that. So moving on, the sighted livestock function itself. So once you've scanned all the EID tagged sheep and goats and cattle, of course, if you have them, you'll need to record them as a sighted movement within those 2 days, as I've mentioned. One of the benefits of a sighted livestock movement is that you can scan all of your EID tagged animals in one go without needing to correlate each individual animal to their source pick. So you can scan them all at once and then upload them all at once. So the sighted livestock movement is a way of recording that an animal has temporarily been on a property, such as a showground, without doing a full on and off transfer. So my red hands there just show you the boxes that are particularly relevant. So the first box on the left, there's that big square. That's where you would cut and paste all your RFID numbers, your tag numbers. Then you would need to next put down the pick of the showground or the event property, and then the date that those animals were sighted on that property. And that really is about it. It's quite simple once you get to this point. However, we do have various fact sheets, including a specific tech tip sheet that goes into detail step by step as to how to do a sighted movement. And I'll include that at the end of the presentation for you. As I said, there are lots of help tools and things to actually help you through various functions on the database. Integrity Systems Company, or ISC, has a range of fact sheets, videos and resources that can help. So we've got the Integrity System Company's website there for you. And again, that sighted livestock tech tip sheet, which is a great way to just step by step work through how to upload a sighted livestock movement. I've also got the ISC customer service number, which is basically the NLS help desk, and that's available 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. The phone numbers listed there, you can also give them an email. And we just remind you that we still have lots of information on our PIRSA Sheep and Goat EID webpage that you might find interesting or useful.
Thanks,
now,
Tara.
thank you, Jodie.
So at this time, we're going to open it up for some questions. We've got several questions submitted. Tara, the first one to you. If I'm running late, i.e. I haven't completed my movements within 2 days, say uploading that movement to the LIS database, what date do I record on the database?
Okay, well, the legal timeframe for recording movements onto the database is the 2 days from arrival. However, if you are a little bit late, it's really important that you record the date of the event, not the date that you are uploading the information to the database. That's for traceability purposes. It's really important that we know the exact date that those animals were sighted on that pic.
Thank you, Tara. Next one I'll pose to you, Denise. What do I do if an animal, and I guess that refers to a sheep, farmed goat, cattle, arrives at the ag show or event without an LIS ear tag?
When animals leave the property, the producers must make sure that the animals are actually identified. However, if the producer can tag it on the day, that would be great at the showgrounds. Or if for some reason it just cannot be identified on the day, instead of a sighted movement, then a mob-based movement needs to be uploaded for those animals.
Thank you. And Denise, another one here for you. What's the best way to transfer information from your wand to the sighted movement webpage?
The thing with all of the wands, they all come with their own software from the manufacturer. So you'll need to have access to the software either on your computer or through one of their apps, and you can download using that particular software. But if you have concerns or don't know how to do it, then I suggest that you actually contact the manufacturer or their representative in South Australia, because each wand is different, but you can download it either through it being connected to a computer, or often these days a Bluetooth connection to an app on your phone.
Thank you. Some great insights in there about transferring information from your wand. Denise and Tara, thank you for sharing your experiences and expertise. We thank everyone for attending today, and have a lovely day.